We want to aquaculture. Ecuador exports $5 billion of shrimp to the US. We can take $1 billion of that industry.
So agriculture is going to be a major investment in the future. Look at the tissue culture labs we're bringing in that can do 8 million plants per year, high quality plant. The embryo technology, smart agriculture, using drones to spray pesticides and fertilizer in our field. A lot of that is happening. You don't see it behind the scenes. We're taking the whole area in Skeldon, like some of the Gaisuko lands and other areas along the bank of the river, like in Crabwood Creek, and convert it into an agro zone. We're building a road from Molson Creek to Oriala to open up more lands. In the adaptation project that we're using money that we earn through the LCDS to safeguard our communities by taking more water from the backlands straight into the Atlantic, like the Hope Canal, to prevent flooding. We're going to open up 100,000 acres of land, arable land, in the next term for small farmers and others. So agriculture is going to be a major investment.
Right.
Major.
We've been praised for this on the world stage, by everyone. Right?
Everyone. And it's going to create a lot of opportunities for young people who want to invest. And it's not the old type of agriculture, the backbreaking type of agriculture. It's new. It's technology oriented. It's smart agriculture. Look at onions. We can now grow all the onions that we need. There is a variety called Aquarius F1 hybrid that is a prolific bearer now. We're going to expand its production in Essequibo Coast, etc. We can replace our onions if we can do all of that. And we're connecting the road network. So Region 9 will be connected to Region 8. You know, when they grew stuff there, they couldn't bring it down. The mountains are a bit colder. We can handle some varieties of crops there in high mountains. They get transport, easy transport coming out. It's a whole plan we have. If I were to, I can talk about agriculture all night long. And people need to focus on this. We're clear about what we want for our country. Because when the oil money goes, what next?
Right.
I see the APNU promising, like APNU said, they would give the public servants 35% per year. That's $1 trillion, only public servant. That's twice as much oil money we have now, only for the public servants. When someone says that, you need to send them to the madhouse because you can't be serious about it. And that's what they're coming up with. How would anybody believe anything that APNU says? Again, I don't know. I don't know.
Go ahead.
So I have a question. This was an article that was published in the Trinidad Guardian not too long ago. I think it was about a week ago, maybe 8 days ago. It says the name of the article is Trini Entrepreneurs Ride Guyana's Wave. And this is a direct quote. It says, there's an engineering firm that's working out of Guyana right now. And it was founded in Guyana last October. And it says it's a move that's proven timely as major construction projects are popping up in nearly every town. From hotels to new roads, they found a strong foothold in Guyana's building boom. So I want to know, of course, how can we ensure that Guyanese companies are the ones that are directly benefiting? And I have no problem with other companies coming into the country. I don't want to sound like
but no, because I've been accused of xenophobia too.
That's what I
was the
just gonna
Trinidadians been saying I'm critical of them and
Guyana
the other
first.
farm, right? And when I said it, Guyana
But
first.
should we not be xenophobic? I mean, we should say we're from here. Being from here should mean something.
Yes, but we don't need. We can be deliberate without being xenophobic.
Well said.
Correct.
And we are deliberate. So we saw this happening under APNU. I used to be at the office just around the corner here, leader of the opposition office. A lot of people came in. They were lobbying for APNU to pass the local content law to get more Guyanese to benefit from the oil and gas opportunities. APNU refused to do that. I went to the Marriott. I saw the Hertz had a sign up there.
car rental,
Right, a car rental. So I said, can't we find enough Guyanese who can rent cars to Exxon? So we pushed for this. We made it a promise in our manifesto. We passed the local content law. Exxon was opposed to it. They said it will shut down their business. Halliburton, all of the others. We passed it. What was the result? Over 1,000 Guyanese companies now earning over $700 million. You know what we did? We took 40 areas. We said, you can't rent from a non-Guyanese. No, none of Exxon and the other first-tier companies can't rent from a non-Guyanese any office space or a dwelling. You know what that did? It was a boom for those Guyanese construction, because a lot of people, Guyanese who live in New York or right here, started fixing up their homes. They started renting. They're making a ton of money because of that. Two, we said, only transport from Guyanese. You can only hire transportation services. We have thousands of vehicles now owned by Guyanese who are earning good rentals because they're supplied to Exxon and all the drivers. Basically, maybe 700 drivers who are earning fairly well. We said cleaning services, only Guyanese. They had a French company doing cleaning services. Food, security, all of these things. So now our companies are supplying more and more these services. We intend to expand that when we expand the local content law. But there's still space outside of these areas for other companies to come in where we are less proficient with the skills. We can do some types of jobs like fabrication, complex fabrication. So Trinidadian companies and others can still get in there, but at least we have a carve out for our people. That was important for me in the oil and gas sector.
And that also allows for capacity building as well,
capacity
too.
building,
Right.
and they have to look at this. Many of them are trying to dupe the system. But we are working on that too, because they come in through the back door. You know, they rent a Guyanese to get their certification. The next thing is, so that was a very critical area for me on that, the local content law for Guyanese to benefit from these services.
I want to talk about elections. Elections is on the way.
And by the way, let me add one thing too.
Go ahead.
There has been a lot of concerns about our country being overrun by foreigners too. So let me tell you about our migration policy. We have not had a formal migration policy as yet. We have drafted one, and we will have to in the future have one, because there would be a time when we'd be like Qatar or Dubai or one of those places where you need workers to come. We can't do all because we don't have enough people, and we're growing at a rapid pace. But we said we will not do that because we do have pockets of unemployment. In Region 4, we may have an abundance of jobs, and Region 3. But what about Essequibo? What about Berbice? What about Linden? More investments to those communities so that they too have jobs, full employment. We want more women into the workforce. Bringing our own people first into the workforce before we start bringing in the foreigners.
It would be blasphemous of me not to ask you a entertainment-related question.
All right. So, but let me just deal with this. So then, the Venezuelans who are here,
okay,
the Chinese who are here, the Indians. So we have to, the ones who are coming to work here now, we have to ensure we know who they are and how many people are in our country.
Do we know that?
So this is why we are now embarked on a project that by the mid next year or so should be completed. It is a high-level biometric project that will give every Guyanese citizen an ID card of a particular nature. And every other foreigner would get another card of a, because they wouldn't be allowed to open a bank account or to do any other work here in Guyana. They'd have to show that card. That means we know now who is in our country. The Guyanese card would give us some special rights. Like we coming through the airport, we don't even have to clear immigration. We just swipe our card because we're Guyanese citizens. The others have to go through a different sort of clearance. So that's what we're working on, because it's important that we know what we protect our country. So that, because we don't want to be overrun by foreigners too, because later we're a small number. They may take over, pose a threat to us as Guyanese. So we have to be careful and protect our people and extend the help. So Guyanese, for example, you may get access to a house lot, you may get access to a zero interest loan, or get direct help to build your house. And not a foreigner can't get that on their card. So a lot of that sort of thing. It's important that we know that too. So we're very deliberate about these things. That's why I said opportunities for our people, protecting our country, making sure that our people are treated well, but without being xenophobic.
Absolutely.
Because, we at one stage, we were looking for jobs in other countries too in the world.
On the entertainment scheme of things, there are a lot of young people.
Like he said.
A lot of young people that are interested in music and television and acting and all that stuff. How have you and the PPP, through the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, decided to aid them in that?
So first of all, if you look at one of the things that we've already put out, it is supporting the creative industry, which we have already been doing, and also protecting content. These are two major promises we've made, and it's already in the public domain. Because we didn't have to wait as manifesto launch. You saw WIN launch their manifesto, and it was a disaster. They didn't even know basic things that were written in their own document. And APNU makes these wild promises. Well, we are very, very clear about that, because we believe the creative industry can be another growth pole. Like how agriculture can be a growth pole, the mining can be a growth pole, non-oil mining can be a growth pole, tourism can be a growth pole, the fisheries sector can be a growth pole for the Guyana, for generating wealth for our people. So too the creative industry can also do that. So these are, we've been at this for a while. Like when Patterson claimed that they conceptualized the bypass, I had to go and show a document in 2003 where we had already mapped that bypass, done the studies, and including the 4-lane road all the way to the airport, a high-span bridge across the Demerara River, across the Berbice River. So I haven't even been able to talk about our vision for that. But just imagine what we got done in 3 years after COVID. Just imagine what, with full 5 years, how this country will change. All of the hotels next year, 6 of those hotels would start working, 1,500 new rooms. The stadium we're building in Berbice and one in Region 3, we'd be able to host a ton of international games. We can host a whole tournament. You don't have to go to the whole Caribbean, a cricketing tournament where 3-4 matches are being held simultaneously. The track in New Amsterdam, the track in Linden, the velodrome that we're going to build for our cyclists. These kinds of things, every village and every ward in the city will have the ground that with lights on it. There are 34 grounds in the city. We're already putting in the lights and upgrading all of them. We do this right across Guyana, in all the Amerindian communities as well as the rural and urban communities.
But I think
that's our plan for the future.
I think a lot of young athletes that I've spoken to, that you read on social media, a lot of them feel as though, and I'm generalizing this, of course, a lot of them feel as though that their sport is treated more like a hobby rather than a profession. And they want to get to the level where they can play professionally and they're earning professionally. They're able to support their families. So,
but you know the limitations to that. I've struggled with boxing a lot because I like boxing, and since we started, and we don't have enough fights here. So if you want to really, even if you want to go, you're amateur, you can't fight 3 times a year.
You need
to fight 8, 9 times a year or so as an amateur fighter. And then in professional, if you go professional, you have to go abroad. So that's why we need to do a bit more. But given our size, you know, we may not be able to generate enough fights and international meet. So we have to be able to support, find a system where we can support through stipend or attachment some of our pro athletes so they can then earn, even the amateurs, and they can earn a bit more whilst they're training.
Right.
But there are limitations because of our size to how many events
St.
we
Lucia
can.
won a gold medal at the last Olympics. We
Right.
can do it too.
So we can, yeah. And a lot of that because those people from St. Lucia and the other places, they don't train in a stadium in St. Lucia. They're
Fair enough.
going to university in the U.S. They have competition in the U.S. They're only St. Lucia nationals, right?
Very true.
So we have to support our sport. We have to support professional sport, but you know your limitations too. So hopefully when we have more facilities across the country, then we can raise our the standards of the sport.
With the onset of new parties joining the elections race for September 1 this year, why should the general public continue to throw their support behind the PPP?
So look at the choices before you. So let's examine the parties. APNU and AFC, because they were together in between 2015 to 2020. Look at their track record. If you examine their track record, you can't believe a single thing they're saying, because they promised us much more, and Granger was even more credible than Norton. How could anyone in their right sense believe anything that comes out of that camp? And you know what comes out of the camp? So Mai Paul is their vice presidential candidate. Mai Paul was a junior staff in local government. Their prime ministerial candidate was Moses Nagamotu's secretary. Norton was advisor on empowerment, but I don't think he even had a job in an office in the office of the president. None of them have policy-making experience, much less the ability to implement policy. Look at that. That's the thing. They have no track record and they have no planning capability. 1 week they would say one thing and then they're contradicted by another person in the party. There's one thing that goes through. We have quality control. I'm general secretary of the party. Whatever we put out a promise, it has to come through me, because I know we have to deliver on it. We study everything, we cost it before we put it out. So it's serious. So that's the choice. Look at young people. They're back at it again, promising young people, oh, we love you again, but it's election time. Look at the disregard for young people. How could the young black men in this country, when they go listen to APNU, all they get is abuse. They say, first of all, the PPP discriminates against Afro-Guyanese. And then, when you give young people opportunity, they call them soup drinkers. And we have had more Afro-Guyanese businesses started in the 5 years under the PPP than they've ever had in their entire history, the PNC, the 28 years plus the 5. Wow. And so that is it. Look at, when we talk about the children of Guyana, it's all the children. We don't differentiate by public or private schools. We don't differentiate by race or religion. We are supporting all of our children, all the pensioners, opportunities for all of our people. Look at Linden. We spent $18 billion in 2 years on building roads. And guess who got the contracts? Only people from Linden, and all of them are young. Look at the images. You ever see anything like that happening on the APNU or AFC? I was saying, Look at how many ministers under the last government were taking the contracts for themselves. Like we know about Cathy Hughes giving her own contract to herself. We know about the housing minister to her husband. Ordinary people couldn't get any help. So that's on one hand. How could you go to APNU or even return to that? The other hand, win. Because I don't bother too much with AFC. I think they're spent. AFC is spent, they're lost their way. But look at Win. Azruddin Mohammed, who is Azruddin Mohammed? He has emerged now. He claims he's a victim of PPP. That's what he's been selling. That we are worried about him contesting the elections. What's the fact? The first thing is that Reuters, the largest news agency in the world, published a report in 2023 that Azruddin Mohammed is being investigated by the United States government for money laundering or Russian money laundering for Russian mafia, 2, smuggling cocaine from Colombia, and 3, gold smuggling. That's a Reuters article. You can go to read it. They were critical of the PPP too, saying that we might be condoning him. That's what they were saying in 2023. Then they said he will be sanctioned. A year later, the US government sanctioned him. The sanction states that US companies cannot deal with this guy, do business with him. That's why Exxon had to shed him. And that if locals were to associate with him or do business, they could face law enforcement action. We were forced to cut him out from the banking system. Every bank immediately said, if we continue doing business with this guy, we lose our correspondent bank relations with the US, you would have to shut down the bank. And they cut ties with him, etc. So he's very unhappy. He thought we should, in the PPP, we should protect him and put at risk every Guyanese. We're not going to do that. We're an old party. We work for the people of this country, not for Azruddin Mohammed. So that is what he's been doing. That's why he launched his campaign. And do you know that APNU and AFC don't criticize him? Although he is going into their communities and going after their supporters. Why is this so? Because we saw him going into Nigel Hughes' office. When Nigel Hughes was asked about it, there was a picture of it. He said, oh, it was on a legal matter, and I invited Trotman as my political consultant. No, really. The country got to be extremely gullible to buy that explanation. But why do you think the APNU and many of their supporters don't criticize him? Because they think he's going to make a dent in PPP support base, which is not happening. It's not going to happen. We're going to win the elections outright. So there seems to be like a cozy thing. Maybe they promise him they would help him with the US, but that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So right now, look at those poor people unsuspecting people who became his candidates. Every one of them would lose their bank account. Their families will lose their accounts. Imagine now they have to go through life not having a bank account. And the banks had no choice. It's not PPP telling them, because if next week the US government finds out that this is so, that they're doing business with an associate of Mohammed, because once you join his party, you're now an associate of an organization that he's heading. That's the difference there. You would lose, the banks would lose their correspondent bank. You saw Timothy Jonas mentioning this, that the banks would be shut down.
I did see that.
And so this is what he's putting people at risk. The people are losing their visas in drove because he wants to save his ass. That's all he's doing. This guy is incapable. You saw him outside the Umanayana. He's incapable of stringing two coherent thoughts together. He hides from the media. He can't host his own press conference. At least Norton can sit down and talk about his policies, etc. This one can't even either give him stuff to read and he's incapable of reading it. And I'm not running down him as a person because, a lot of people may not finish CXC, but at least you're running for the highest office in the land. You're running for the highest office in the land. How can we entrust the future of our children or your own future in the hands of people like this? On the other hand, like Norton, you're going to go back to the past. It's clear as daylight. They have no experience to implement anything, even if they had a plan. And then with this guy, it's pure criminality. And what does he have to offer a young Guyanese, whether they're Amerindian, Indo-Guyanese, or Afro-Guyanese, about the future? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And lies. How today they Photoshop another thing of their crowd. They went to Linden and we found the poster, the same faces recurring, and they have a blue wave. They run a campaign only on Facebook. And people are gullible sometimes, some people are. So they say, oh, look at the momentum he's getting. You would think that we're getting the small crowd and he's getting the big crowds. The way he speaks about it.
So let's talk about...
So that is why I'm saying choices before the Guyanese electorate. So the young people, the people in Sophia, who are living in Sophia and listening to us now, what did APNU really do in Sophia? We built all the roads. We told you what we're going to do. We're putting in lights in all the playground. We told you we're going to get more jobs. In Linden, listen to Figueroa and listen to all the things being done. Not the bridge, not just the bridge, the highway, the new schools, etc., but jobs, etc. for people. If you're in Essequibo Coast, you think the rice farmers going to be very worried again because they promised them, or the sugar workers, because they already said we shut down the sugar industry and grow marijuana on their platform, or the public servants, or any other group, or the miners. They got the taxes, they got promises or no taxes. Look at the people in Kwakwani and Aichuni. 1,000 jobs were lost in the bauxite industry under APNU. So this is not about race. This is about your own future. And people have to look at the party that will put down something in writing and actually deliver on it and has the experience to deliver it. We have an experienced team. President Ali was in my cabinet. He managed large-scale tasks. He ran 3 ministries. He's now president. He has an international standing. Mark Phillips ran the army. He has experience there, etc. They're supported by a whole team, ministers, etc. And we have a solid team. Which other political party has a team that could support the implementation of a program that you want to risk your future with?
I want to ask you a question about businesses. As of recent, we've seen a host of Chinese-run supermarkets popping up in some of our communities, in corners all over. What's the next move when it comes to this type of scenario?
So this is a big concern.
It is a huge concern.
It came up to me several times, and I addressed this at my press conference. So what we have are Guyanese businesses who have been renting their places to Chinese to open markets. We can do very little about that because when you own your property, we can't tell you
who to rent to.
Right, that's one. But there's a complaint that the Chinese do not respect our laws. They don't pay taxes and they don't get permission, or they don't seek permission to sell the things they're selling in the supermarkets because they sell everything there.
Okay.
So I made it clear that our position is if you come to our country and our people are paying taxes and they have to get the requisite permission to sell, you have to comply with the law. And if you're inducing some GRA official or someone else, then that has to change. So we have had a crackdown to ensure that they have that they're paying taxes. Mm-hmm. Some of them are still duping the taxes, but that they're paying the taxes. So, for example, if they sell beers in a supermarket, you have to get a license to sell alcohol too. Mm-hmm. You can't just, the Guyanese man would have to get a license to sell alcohol. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at that. So the same rules must apply to everyone. Then number three, I went to the Diamond opening of the new hospital. Mm-hmm. So I came out and I saw this Chinese supermarket.
Right across
the
street.
And it irked me. I said, how come this is a prime spot? Why would we give it to a Chinese to open a supermarket here? Guyanese could do this. So we went back, I came back and I found out, the land, we gave it to Guyanese through a business proposal. They then own the land now and they rented it. They got it to open a business there. Mm. And now once they get the title, there is very little we can do.
Right.
And so a lot of that is happening too. Like the quarry licenses. We were producing, when we got in office, we were producing maybe 500,000 tons of stone. Mm-hmm. So we have this big road program, roads everywhere, etc. So the price of stone went up significantly. So we decided, how are we going to fix this? We're importing stone at $17,000 per ton, right? And when it was $10,000, $11,000 before. So we gave out another maybe 10 quarry licenses, all to Guyanese. Mm-hmm. They turned around and rented them to the Chinese. So they're sitting home, many of them are collecting $2 or $3 for every ton sold. Mm-hmm. And then the Chinese are operating it for them. So we didn't give it to the Chinese. Mm-hmm. We gave it to them. So then the truckers came to see me, and I made sure that they couldn't use the Chinese trucks. I talked to the truckers. I said to Vikram Bharat, we got to, Guyanese truckers must...
Yeah, because they were complaining.
Right, they were complaining. He came to see me at Freedom House, and I dealt with it. Mm-hmm. So these things are, a lot of our own people are doing this, doing a hustle. And if it's their land or their permit, we have to act lawfully too.
Right.
So it is a big concern of ours, but also. Then I went to Berbice one time, and we said, they complained, the businessmen, about the Chinese shops. And then the Guyanese in the community are saying, but they open late. If we need a screw, we could run over to the shop. If we need something there. So they're providing a service because our people want to close at 6 o'clock. And they're working until 8 or 9, maybe, when people are coming home from work. So we need to also adjust the way we do business. Our locals.
Move with the times.
We got to move with the times too. If people are working in the day and they're coming home at 6 now, you can't be closing your store at 6 o'clock too. You have to be keeping your store open a little bit later so they can have time to shop. In the evening, women coming home from work and all of that, they have to take care of the children. So they have time to go to the supermarkets and everything else. Our people want to shut down early.
VP, every time you come, the conversation just keeps
yes.
Do you know it's 6:23 right now?
Oh, I did not. Yes. I did not know. It's a great thing.
Yeah. You have a lot going on in the next 2 days too.
And I just want people to read. A lot of people don't read what we put out. Mm-hmm. Like look at the vouchers. You know how many homes we went to and people said,
they don't know.
A spectacle voucher? And that's been running for 2 years. You can get $17,000 to get your spectacle, $2,000 to test, and a $15,000 for the glasses. The cervical cancer voucher. People don't know. I met a group and I said, have you seen the new hospital going up? Mm-hmm. And by the bypass, how many of you drove past? And they said, yeah, we drove past. And they said, oh, that's a hotel being built. It is the new women and children hospital, that pediatric and maternal hospital. Mm-hmm. It looks like a hotel, mm-hmm. and the bypass.
Yes, of course.
People don't follow sometimes what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's so impressive.
But it's very hard to keep up with everything that's going on, especially because there's so many articles and information being thrown
Yes,
at you all the
yes,
time. So
and-
how do we filter what's important and what's not? I mean, that's a difficult task by
that's
itself.
it. And then people pay attention, like the TikTok,
Yes.
Yeah.
a lot on TikTok. And
Are you
that's
on
why
TikTok?
I'm saying, no, I'm not on TikTok. What I do, I sometimes I scroll through, but it's very addictive. I must say,
It is.
it is addictive, and also, when you start scrolling, but then the night disappears, and then you've got nothing of substance.
Pick up a
And
book.
so I say to people, it's your future.
If you want to know how to plan as a young businessman, you have to know take the budget every year. The budget is not the speech that Ashni Singh reads. You can present a budget without the speech. It is the estimates.
The estimates would have every project that we are funding for the year in that. So you have to say, if I'm an IT specialist, I see 10 IT projects here. How am I going to get ready?
How do I tap in?
And I see now for co-investment, the government set aside $800 million. So do you know that the government will build a factory for you if you have a great project that is there now? People have not even utilized it. We have done this in many parts. Like we're building a cassava mill now on the Region 3 because the production of cassava went from 3 million pounds to 20 million pounds. And we want to do a cassava mill there to do the cassava flour. So people have choices. You have the wheat flour, cassava flour, you have a blend. Local. People know they would never, and these are businessmen, they don't even go to the budget. So how do you know to plan for the future if you don't know what projects are going to be funded? If I look at the road budget, like next year, you're going to see a lot of work on concrete drains. And you hear the government talking about concrete drains. So I'm thinking now, and they already said we want standardized drains. So I'm thinking, how can I build 2 molds now? Should I get the specs now from Public Works to start building 2 molds to start supplying the drains? You got to start getting involved in that sort of thing. If you live in an Amerindian community and you know now that the government is through the LCDS funds or through your region, we're only going to give contractors from your region. You have to do the same. How can I get the help for poverty? How can I get the free cement and steel from the foundation for my home? Wow. You got to approach. People come to Freedom House and they get help a lot. You need to get up. If they're poor housewife and you need some help, because we do have poverty. They talk about poverty. I see Nigel Lewis post some pictures. And they say, oh, how could we be an oil country and be still poor? And I'm thinking, some people got to be really, I don't want to use bad words. So let me get to the point. So if 35,000 people lose their jobs, sugar workers, Amerindians, miners, etc., and they were taking care of their family, and they lose their jobs because of you. What do you think they're going to get, rich or poor?
True.
They are 35,000 people lost their jobs before COVID, and another 35,000 because of the shutdown. Well, you don't think we have to do it? If you don't build houses, how are they going to have houses? Or you don't give them a plot of land? How do they own anything? If you don't give them scholarships, how are they going to come out of poverty, upgrade them so that they can earn more, like our nurses and our teachers? We train 6,000 more teachers. When they get a degree, they get more money because we want better quality. How? And you talk about, oh, I'm surprised there's still poverty because we start producing oil and gas. It takes, in the United States of America, you have millions of people who live on the street. And that's the wealthiest country in the world in per capita terms, one of the wealthiest. So you hear this nonsense, but which is the party that really is trying to tackle the things that will get you out of poverty? Trying to get the education and health and housing and water, cheaper and cheaper electricity, and giving people a cash grant. And there will be much more cash grants in the future. Which party is really walking the walk? It's only the PPP.
My final question, I'm sure you have one as well,
yeah,
Michaela.
Sure.
My final question for you is this. Looking beyond the September elections, What legacy do you hope that your administration is going to leave behind in 5 years, especially in the terms of social justice, democratic governance, and economic fairness?
So let's go through. You're going to need to give me back again because
social justice.
Social justice.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that clearly we're discussing some of that before.
Yes.
Women, children, protecting vulnerable groups. So I've already mentioned we can put in place the framework. We can be more supportive by putting more money in. We can hire more staff to ensure that this happens. But you also need civil society to play a role.
Absolutely.
So in terms of social justice, we want to make sure people living with disability, they get more help. That's a big promise. We've done it already. People on public assistance, they would see a massive increase. The pensioners would get more money. The children, I told you already how through their different grants. People who are poor would get additional help for construction of houses and that sort of thing. So that is in term. We have a whole set of measures on social justice. Then
Democratic governance.
Democratic governance. So APNU keeps speaking about we rigging elections. And I don't know if you can lie up to your supporters up to today. That's they're up to last night I heard them saying PPP rigging election. Rig the 2020 and trying to rig now. They see our crowds. They look at their crowds. Yesterday, they had one man at Monterey Post speaking and somebody videoing him. They don't put crowds anymore. They just put the speaker and say we had a massive meeting in the area. It's not true. And then say we are planning to rig the elections, that we are putting Venezuelans to vote and all that. Not the usual nonsense, you know. You look at the crowd in London, see if you see Venezuelans there, or in Berbice, or at Kitty. You see the multi-ethnic nature of Guyana. That's one of the big things that is shocking them. So that's one, democratic governance. But we have to strengthen the judiciary. We have to get more accountability from the judiciary. I mentioned from the police, the procurement system, corruption. We have to fight all of these things. This is important. You're going to see some additional measures in our manifesto to look at this. Constitutional reform that we promised. The last time we put in place the mechanism to pursue that. 5 from the opposition, 5 persons from the government, and 10 from civil society. And that has started already work. So a lot of this. We have made it clear that we strengthen laws against discrimination on the basis of race, gender, religion, and sexual orientation. I said that clearly. I said we're not promising gay marriages. I said to Sassod clearly, we know the party will not support gay marriages. And they said we're not seeking that. We just want discrimination prevented, access to health care and education. I don't think people should be discriminated against
Absolutely.
because to access to health or jobs, etc., because of their sexual orientation. We promise that. Then on economic empowerment, this is important. Opportunities. So the development bank to create a means through which we will be able to create more small business. Reorienting the public sector budget like we did now. If we had allowed people to bid, only 5 or 10 people would get all the contracts, not the 5,000-6,000 young men that you see in Linden, etc. That's economic empowerment. We changed the whole bidding system. We're now awarding contract on the basis of rates. So they now have to settle on the rate because if we had gone through the bidding system. That's a second thing. Making sure that we educate people so that they can be better empowered, that they empower through ownership. House lots, etc., that they own things. This is how we're. I can go down a long list of measures. Financial literacy. I told you about Floyd Haynes, who owns the Merchant Bank. Floyd is going to work with the PPP, but also at the government level, we do that. Financial literacy, financial empowerment. We have a whole course. We traverse this country to talk to people about how we set up small businesses. And how do we manage finances? We already have the course outline. He sent it to me and promised to work with us at this. we will then take opportunities in the oil and gas sector, like the fertilizer plant, some of the opportunities from the oil and gas, other oil and gas sector, and then structure them in a way where we have these investment vehicles, either through bonds or share ownership, and allow small people, like if you're a teacher or a nurse and you have 100,000 in your bank account and you want to invest it, if you're getting 3% from the bank now, we want to guarantee you a return of 10%. The government underwritten. So you start investing and you earn more from your money that might be sitting in the bank. And the Guyanese who have more money, then they can also finance projects of a bigger nature through the bond structure. A lot of these things we've been talking about, that is how we empower people. The Amerindian communities, they need a lot of support because of the distances, etc. Young people in these areas, how do we get more jobs to them? And rural and people like in Linden, etc. Because they're a little bit away from the network. But when we finish the upgrade of the road network from Molson Creek all the way to the airport, all the way to Parika and then to Charity, you'd have 4-lane roads, high level of connectivity, so people can be mobile for work and opportunities, etc. And that bridge alone will de-risk opportunities for Region 3. Because when you can land your containers across there and move it over to the river, just think about all the people living in Region 3 now, the opportunities that they'll get from the development of the river on their side, right along from Breeden Hoop all the way to Wales. Major changes you're going to see. And then hopefully we'll have a full 5 years, not the 3 years, because we had to deal with 2 years of COVID.
All right. Okay, well, I was going to ask one final question. Do I have time for one final question?
One final question, VP.
All right. Yes, it is quite late. I did tell you that an hour on radio feels like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Essequibo as we own.
Yes.
Our sovereignty, how important it is to protect it, not just from a patriotic standpoint, but from an economic standpoint as well, too. Of course, there's been a lot of information being peddled to us, but we want to know from the government's perspective, what is the plan moving forward in protecting our sovereignty?
So we've spoken heavily about the investments we plan to make in the Army and the security forces. The security forces would be a lot of technology to make what they're doing easier and more effective in ensuring that we fight crime in the country. And it's not just the serious types of crime, but the community-based ones. We've had a lot of complaints. People leave their work, leave to go to work, a lot of that sort of thing. So investments there. Then in our Army, we have to build the capability to better police our borders.
Definitely.
So heavy investment in drone technology to map real-time information, what's going on at our border, and also in our exclusive economic zone, because we believe you have a large amount of wealth there in the terms of our fishery resources, that we have illegal fishing from as far as Korea. People coming to fish in our waters out there in the 200 miles limit. That's the exclusive economic zone. So better policing that. So clearly our capability to better police our patrimony, our economic resources, and keep our borders intact is vital for us. Essequibo will grow economically. That's why we're thinking about a whole range of new crops and activities there. And we promise an innovation hub and an incubator for small business across all regions, especially in the outlying regions, 10, 1, 7, 8, 9, Essequibo Coast, and region 6 and 5. Those are the regions that need that to generate new economic activities. So Essequibo is important for us, very, very important. We hope that the case at the ICJ we'd have a ruling in our favor. We expect that because Venezuela doesn't have a shred of evidence to support their claims. And we expect that ruling, and that would advance or settle this issue definitively. Venezuela may accept it or not, but that's their business. But already the U.S. has made it clear. Just recently, you know, when Secretary Rubio was here, he said it would be a bad day for Venezuela were you to attack Guyana.
Or ExxonMobil, yeah.
Or ExxonMobil. And he also, just recently, we had a senator who put forward draft legislation to say that the defense secretary must report periodically to the Senate about their collaboration with Guyana to address transboundary crime and the Venezuelan threat.
I read that.
You read that. So that is why we say this Azruddin Mohammed is a risk not just to people in the country because he's putting up all the people at risk, but just imagine a sanctioned man. You are the U.S. ambassador. They're having to deal with a sanctioned individual. Maduro is sanctioned. Do we lose the sovereignty? You know, the support from the U.S. You know and that's crucial in our battle against Venezuela. We have strong diplomatic efforts globally. You know, Carl Greenidge, who was from the last government, was foreign minister and then foreign secretary. He still is the agent for a case at the ICJ. We kept him on because this is a national issue. It's not an issue that you play politics over.
All right.
All right, VP, we want to thank you for spending your time with us this afternoon.
That's it. That's good.
It's been a really, really educational conversation.
I think we covered quite a few number of topics.
And we hit some things that we thought might have stumped you, and you managed to.
No, I didn't think that.
Thank you for having this conversation with us.
Welcome. You're welcome. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today and to talk to people. I think we need, hopefully, this would stimulate more debate in our country. Because too often we don't have that debate.
Do you think there's room for debate around this time? Yes,
debate around policy. And it not necessarily a televised debate. Debate that's taking place in families. Particularly when people are making decisions that would be crucial for their lives.
Absolutely.
You know, they need to sit down and assess the facts. And assess who is really going to deliver change to my life.
I think a lot of times we discuss what we think are facts. So I think we need to make a more concerted effort to go and actually look stuff up, read it, and make sure you have all the relevant information before you relate something that may be false.
Sometimes it's actually laughable. You know this Kian Jabur? This guy is really, he makes up things all the time. And he speaks with such self-assurance that you would think is a fact. So your point, I'm getting to your point. There are lots of people who speak off the top of their head, and they speak with such conviction that you would actually believe it's true. All I'm saying, you can fact check me on anything that I said today, and people should fact check. You fact check me on what I'm saying, because I have a credibility. I'm not going to trade my credibility by where I know a long time as finance minister and then as president to be caught lying. These guys don't mind because they move on from lie to lie every day. I've just seen him speak up, and one time I met him at the Starbucks and he didn't know basic stuff. And then I said, he got to be a little... I had a different impression. I just used him on the top of my head, you know, like that. Yeah.
No problem.
Yes.
VP, thanks for coming in and spending your time with us again. The door's always open.
So what are you doing after this?
No,
are you inviting him out?
No, I'm not. Excuse me. Listen.
Sounds like you want to grab coffee.
No.
Actually, I've had about 3 cups of coffee already here.
I just wanted to know his plan.
After the elections, because we need to get back to our work. We're carrying the message everywhere. We're carrying the president. I was supposed to go to Maburuma tomorrow with the president, but Mark is going with him to we have a big public meeting in Maburuma. It'll be huge, and I'm spending the next couple of days in Essequibo Coast. As I said beginning, I have 18 meetings there, but just with the stop meetings to talk to people, because sometimes they hear things, and we've had problems with a lot of leaders that were local leaders who sometimes are rude to people and don't carry out the best interests of the party, or they may be neglecting their community, and people have concerns about that, and sometimes they want to see you. Yeah, they tend to blame the party for it, although you may never even know. And yeah.
Do you exercise?
I don't get to do that. I don't exercise.
You gotta stay healthy. You gotta exercise.
Yeah, I know. I wish. Every time I say I'm going to plan something, then something else comes up. I go on the phone and another problem. It's been like that for 5 years now.
I would imagine.
It's almost like I don't know, the 5 years just disappeared like that. Like it's like one big sprint. Meeting people. I met hundreds of people literally.
A sprint
at
or a
Freedom
marathon?
House. Yeah, no, a sprint.
A sprint.
It looks like a sprint because it's like, I'm thinking about yesterday that, when we went in there, the first day Irfan was sworn in, and we had a conversation. What are we going to do? We had 40 tests being done per day. That's the maximum. And people were dying, and the country was shut down. And they didn't have income to come out back. The girls who were working like waitresses and other places were calling, we don't have money. And what do? And we met with the health people at the convention center, Irfan and myself, the mass, and we sat with them and we said, the COVID hospital, we had to get the beds in. So we called around, got the beds in, we got the oxygen in, we got the vaccines coming in. We moved to 5,000 tests per day. And that was like everything. We're sharing out mass. And it took almost like a year. And then we said simultaneously. Actually, there were 3 members of the cabinet. I'm not going to tell tale. The whole cabinet was to keep the lockdown in place, except 3 members of the cabinet. Myself, the president, and one other member.
Open this place
We said we got to open. The shutdown model is not going to work. And we reopened, and we had a lower death rate than the countries that were shut down. Trinidad and Tobago, including in parts of the U.S. and stuff, because it's a sad thing. A lot of people lost their lives there was very little we could do. We had to overcome vaccine skepticism and all of that. But people don't remember that. And then we came out on the ground. And then I remember just after COVID, I went to Crabwood Creek one night. I went to the hotel, Classic Hotel in Corriverton, and some older folks from the party came and said to me, "You want to come into Crabwood Creek?" And I went to Crabwood Creek, and no road there. All the roads were in disrepair. Nothing was done. And it seems like the whole of Berbice, from New Amsterdam, from Mara, including New Amsterdam, all the way to Crabwood Creek. It was like they're taking away the sugar workers and closed their estates, so there was no life in Berbice, no roads, nothing. We managed to build thousands of roads, not in Berbice alone, but throughout the whole country. Now it's hard to find a community road that we have to build, and we did it with the same contractors, with a lot of local people. Some did shoddy work and a lot did great work, small people. But we had to face all of the challenges. And so it's been a hectic ride there. We didn't have any of the hospitals on the drawing board. We had to conceptualize, do studies, raise the financing, get the contracts awarded, and now the hospitals are being opened.
Well said.
Right? So a lot of those things, the highway plan wasn't there. We had it conceptually. We put it in place. The bridge, no plan. So 5 years was hard work. And we're looking forward to working now and coming back to the issues that we didn't get to touch.
All right.
Right. Thank you. Right.
Thank you for coming in.
No. It's easy to start back.
It's easy to start back.
No, because there's so much to talk about.
It's just so much, and it's been a
Tell
rough
us something we don't know about you. Just one quick fact that the
give us
public.
a
I don't know.
fact.
I
Give us
don't
a
know.
fact that you don't want
I
it to
don't. If you don't know it about me, that means I don't want it known.
Wow.
Well, tell us something that you want us to know.
Do you have a favorite song?
Tell us something you want us to know.
Bob Marley is my
Is your
favorite.
favorite artist?
It's a bit dated, but inspirational, and I think it's in my head from university days.
Which one? Which Bob Marley?
Every song Bob Marley sang.
Waiting in Vain is my probably top 3.
Waiting in Vain, yes. Emancipation song, right?
Yeah.
Everything.
Okay,
all right,
fair enough.
Do you celebrate birthdays?
Hardly, no.
Oh wow.
Your birthday is January 23rd.
Oh, we know when your birthday is.
I'm not much for birthdays and stuff like that. I'm almost throughout my presidency, January was a hectic month with flooding. I spent a lot of that in water. Birthdays. I remember the early days before we built the Hope Canal, we used to be, like Region 5 used to be flooded out all the time. And I spent a lot of birthdays on...
Well, you gotta have a big birthday the next year.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Next year, 2026.
You gotta invite us.
Right, all right. Yeah, all right, then let's do that.
Thanks for coming in, man. Be good.
Take care.
Okay, take care. Bye.
All right. That's the man himself, the VP. Thank you for being a part of the show. We gotta wrap things up, make some room for